At theraces.com, Cheltenham Preview, sponsored by Ladbrokes.com.
And we're buzzing. Cannot wait. Thanks for logging on. The feature on day 2 is, of course, the Queen Mother Champion Chase. Discussing that with me, I've got jockey Andrew Thornton. But let's go straight away to the betting booth and get all the details with Matt Chapman.
It's a race I love, Luke, because it's a race where the chasers simply cannot make a mistake. Let's have a look at the stats and see what we can come up with there. Well, 23 of the last 24 winners have won over at least 2 mile 2. So although it's a speed test, stamina clearly comes into play. 18 of the last 23 winners have been placed at the Festival for, once again, course form crucial. Horses starting at single-figure odds have won 24 of the last 26 runnings. What that tells us, Luke, is that generally there are 2 or 3 top 2-milers that stand out amongst the others. And 6 of the last 7 runners, or winners at least, ran in the Tingle Creek Chase. So the Tingle Creek, a very, very good guide. And of course we've got the Tingle Creek winner in here once again in Twist Magic on the next page. But on that page, a lot of the old timers, of course, Ashley Brooke. Oh dear, poor old Ashley. He's never quite made it, has he? Fair Along would be an interesting horse. Second in an Arkle when things didn't quite go his way. And My Way to Solsam, we expect to see that horse in the World Hurdle, but still, of course, in the Champion Chase. New Mill, a previous winner, but woeful of late. Nickname, well, he'd need it like the Somme to come and win this race, and to be honest hasn't been that impressive recently. And then of course we get to some of the big ones. Twist Magic and last year's winner Voy Por Ustedes. We know how crucial course form, and of course on the first page I should have given a big mention to Masterminded as well. He's the up and coming star of the 2-mile chasing scene. Now, Twist Magic, who was the Tingle Creek winner, and Masterminded are both trained by Paul Nicholls. It's almost embarrassing, isn't it? He's got favourites for the Gold Cup and, of course, the Champion Chase, and I was lucky enough to go and see him.
It shows the true genius of the man, that not only could he train the Gold Cup 1-2, but he could also win the Queen Mother Champion Chase and train the runner-up as well. Because, of course, the champion trainer, Paul Nicholls, has Twist Magic and Masterminded in the champion. This is Twist Magic. Paul, he's been brilliant and slightly disappointing this season. Brilliant in the Tingle Creek, but on more testing ground over a longer trip at Ascot, slightly disappointing.
Yeah, that's been a little bit of nature of his career. Just struggled with his breathing as a novice hurdler. So, had an operation during that summer, and then basically since then he's improved enormously. Probably a big error running him at Ascot on the ground that we did. The ground when he won the Tingle Creek, they called it soft. It was soft up the straight, good to soft from basically the top of the hill all the way down around the back. And he was able to travel around Sandown, and Sandown probably quite suits him. He's definitely a spring-autumn horse, and last year we didn't run him in the middle of winter after he got beat at Kempton at Christmas, and next year we'll follow the same sort of pattern with him. But he's definitely a better horse in the spring, and he's definitely a much better horse on decent ground.
He's a real speed horse. I mean, he almost comes across as a horse, if there was a mile 6 chase, he would love that.
Well, this is why Cheltenham suits him in a lot of ways. Cheltenham's a speed track. People forget Cheltenham is a speed track. Unless the ground is very, very tested, it's a speed track. And that suits a horse like him.
But he did fall in the Arkle. How worried would you be?
He fell in the Arkle going extremely well. Too well. He's learnt since then. He won at Aintree. Jumping has been exemplary. And, you know, a lot of these horses learn from a mistake like that. And he didn't fall because he was a bad jumper. He was basically going too well at that tricky fence, and we've seen plenty of horses fall there. He's got that together nicely now.
But you've always held him in enormous regard. I remember speaking to you on the Get On programme at the race about 6 months ago, you told us all to get on Twist Magic for the Champion Chase. He's one you've always known had class. Oh yeah, and we believed in him, and we sort of, that's always been, ever since we've had him really, always thought he was going to be a smart chaser, and then he just improved enormously during the spring, and again this autumn, and you know I've always had, I mean just the size of him, he's just got 2 mile chaser written all over him. Well, we all knew Twist Magic would be a top 2 mile chaser, but none of us really thought Masterminded with Paul. Unseated first time at Exeter, but since then, brilliant at Sandown and so impressive at Newbury from the front. Yeah,
you know, we always, Anthony always liked him before we bought him, and
that's Anthony Bromley.
Anthony Bromley, we bought him last summer, and he ran in a Grade 1 on his first run for Clive O'Toy and was second over 2.5. I remember Ruby saying that day that he either blew up or he didn't get the trip, and I thought he travelled really well that day, and obviously didn't get the trip really. We gave him loads of time, and obviously because he wasn't a novice over here, I could only run in a graduation chase. As you say, he lost his Sam at Exeter for just being a bit too brave and a bit too bold, it got him into trouble at the toe really. He's a great jumper, but was being a bit too brave and flicking through his fences, a bit French style. So we did a lot of schooling with him between Exeter and Sandown, and actually had him jumping poles and barrels and almost in effect show jumps to get him to arch his back. Jumped brilliant then at Sandown. The improvement in him from Sandown to Newbury was just like nothing I've ever seen before in a horse. And his work with Courtauld the Wednesday before he won was just incredible. And, you know, he was obviously going the right way and hugely talented. And his jumping was coming together. And we were hoping we were going to have a fast run race at Newbury, sit in third and, you know,
so
take it up
to go off in front.
No, but Ruby's such a good jockey. He knows their fit. In the end of the day, that was a right move. And, of course, he jumped great, quickened up well and won cosily, really.
You got what they perhaps would call an uncontested lead that day, and you were getting weight about £6 from Voy Por Ustedes.
Yeah.
How much do you think the run could flatter him, or on that work with Courtauld Star, do you really think he's that good?
He is, and I think he's improved. To be honest with you, a big horse, so would £6 have made any difference to the result? I doubt it. He had an uncontested lead, but he would have been better off for we'd have liked to lead. Remember, he'd fallen, he is a novice, and in fact he's had to go and do it the hard way against, you know, the champion chaser, and just the way he quickened up from the pond fence, and it was really impressive. And I don't think it worked out right for him, but he won.
Tactics quite interesting because obviously with Twist Magic we expect him to be held up for that turn of foot. This chap seems to he could do it either way from the front.
Yeah, I mean if Tamarinbleu runs in the race and also Fairlongs are possible, they're going to go a fair gallop. They're always doing a champion chase. So you'd want to sit third or fourth with a little bit of daylight. Jumps a little bit right-handed, which is his way, so that won't matter. Just going a little bit, giving him a bit of daylight. One thing he has got to overcome, in effect, is inexperience. Some of those more hardened horses have had a bit more experience than him. You know, as he said, 2 runs ago, he didn't fall, he unseated Sam. And he'd had a couple of falls in France by being big and bold, really. So he has got inexperience to overcome. That is the one, you know, negative. But saying that, he was brilliant at Newbury, and that might just have, you know, been what he wanted.
Paul Nicholls, the jockey of Broadheath, the jockey of Play School. If the champion chase was tomorrow, would you ride Twist Magic or Masterminded?
I think it's a very difficult one. The ground would be the biggest thing of all. If the ground was good, fast ground, I think Twist Magic, everything would be in his favour. Whereas if ground was on the soft side, I think Masterminded, you'd have to go for Masterminded. So I think the ground is a key to it.
Well, Paul Nicholls with the embarrassment of riches there for all the races, but you know, especially for the champion chase. Looking at the 2 horses, Stafford Masterminded, as Paul said, we saw him at the races. It actually unseated at Exeter. Since then, his jumping's just come on tenfold, hasn't it?
Absolutely. He's just gone from strength to strength. He's a lovely looking horse. Travels superbly well during his race. And like Paul said, they'd like to have sat in a little bit round Newbury, but it just happened that nothing wanted to make the running. Ruby's got on with the job. It'll have probably done the horse a lot of good to be out in front. For the experience as much as anything. He's had to do his own donkey work, so you've seen him do it from the back, from the front, and it just opens up a lot more options in the champion chase.
Although it's come as a surprise to us because we haven't seen him, I know for a fact that Anthony Bromley, although they bought him last summer, they've been trying to buy this horse for the last couple of years. You know, this is a horse who's shown tremendous ability in his native France and now transferring it here. And like you say, he doesn't seem to have got an Achilles heel, does he?
Not so far, and like you say, he got the blip out the way at Exeter. Which hopefully, like I say, that was a blip. He's got, as Paul said, they've done an awful lot of jumping with his, a lot of work with his jumping over barrels and everything, and he's coming to hand. And you see, he could end up being favourite for the champion chase.
Yeah, he could well do. But let's not forget Twist Magic. He was travelling so well last year in the Arkle, but again, whereas Mastermind is so consistent, this fella's got 2 ways of doing it. On his best form, he's exciting. On his worst form, he ain't going to win, is he?
No, exactly. And it just looks like to me that Twist Magic has to have absolutely everything in his favour. You have to bear in mind, if the ground happens to be slow, he won't win.
No.
He's already said before he has to have decent ground. And like you say, he came down in the Arkle going too well.
Yeah.
So he has got that slight worry about that downhill fence at Cheltenham, which you see a lot of horses have, which, you know, you've got to bear it into the prices. Do you think he's value at 3 to 1 there?
Yeah. Well, just looking, of course, at some form of Twist Magic. Now, he was firmly put in his place by Tamarinbleu. Now, well, like a lot of people going to this, we thought Tamarinbleu, very good handicap, a tremendous season, run him in there, a little bit of place money. I don't think not the owner, not David Pipe or Tom Scudamore, thought that this fellow would go and do that.
whether he's gone on improved is open to debate. Twist Magic has run, to me, probably a stone and a half below his best. He was beaten a long way out this day at Ascot. You know, you have to work. Was it just the ground? Because he's probably beaten with half a mile to run. Tamarinbleu has run his race. He's a genuine sort, absolutely relentless galloper, and I would think that probably, as far as the Champion Chase goes along, people would love to see Fairalong and Tamarinbleu just to make sure it's going to be a true run race. I think Paul Nicholls would be quite happy to see that.
Do you think Tamarinbleu's made that much of a jump? Is he going to be a real key player?
He could well be. He's what you call an improving handicapper. He's gone through the handicap ranks, and now he's having to run in these sort of races because he can't. He's weighted out of the handicaps now. They haven't got any choice. Whether he's quite a real 2-miler, he's a real grinder.
I like him. He's got Cheltenham written all. Well, we've seen him. We saw him already win the big handicap there. But he's just one of them. He sticks his head out. There's no ifs or buts. He's a warrior, isn't he?
And jumping. Yeah. You can rely on him like, you know. No. You can put your life on him.
Yeah. Well, what about? I mean, everyone seems to be talking about it. We haven't even mentioned last year's winner, Voy Por Ustedes, has been firmly put in his place. Having said that, by Masterminded, but you can't beat form. He's been there. He's done it. But what is the form of last year's race?
Well, you try and weigh it up, but he has won twice at the Cheltenham Festival. Yeah. His time, Voy Por, you've always got to remember, his time is Cheltenham. He always seems to be better in the spring come Cheltenham. He's proved in the past that when he's gone to Newbury, it was a blip last year when he got rid of Chock at the ditch down the back because the horse was very, very fresh. He obviously hasn't had the best campaign in the world this year. He went to Cheltenham earlier in the season on hock deep ground and got beat by Calcamone.
Probably took more out of him than you think, actually.
Absolutely. And he had top weight that day, so you cannot write Voy Por off. But then again, you've got the young pretenders coming along now.
We've mentioned the top four, the obvious ones. Is there anything further down? You know, you've got things like, I mean, I can't see it, Andreas, Fairalong that you've mentioned, Mansoni. Is there anything in there that could be lurking?
Obviously New Mill.
New Mill, of course, yeah.
But again, the horses who've been there before, they aren't improving anymore. Basically, it usually comes down to horses who are progressive in this type of race. It's been proved in the past. You have to have something that has had no blips going into the race, is on song, and also acts around Cheltenham.
I was lucky enough to have ridden Catabatic former 2-mile championship. An absolute machine, and that's what you need for this thing with gears. If you were riding in the race, what would you like to be on, Andy?
If I was riding in the race, I think Masterminded. The profile to me, there's not too many ifs or buts. He's going the right way.
Yeah, he's an improver then. That's the one for Andy. Masterminded for the Champion Chase.
At theraces.com, Cheltenham Preview, sponsored by Ladbrokes.com.